Okay, I am going, welcome everybody. Be safe driving home. I'm going to open the Buckingham Township Board of Supervisors meeting for January 24th, 2024. Can we stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Thank you all for coming. And I think we're going to start out with public comment, right? Okay. So if we're going to start out with public comment, so you can just go up and just state your name and address for Lori.
Never seen anything.
No, you don't see anything? Okay. Okay.
Wait.
I'm waiting.
Are you here for public comment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Michael Shamanik. I am a local resident at 2581 Mill Road. Forgive me if I don't get the format right. This is my first time. I'm here for primarily one reason, and that is history. I have lived here my whole life. For me, it was easy to get used to being surrounded by the things that we love about Bucks County and Buckingham in particular. I grew up, I went to college, I traveled the world a little bit. It wasn't until I spent enough time in other places that I realized what truly makes our home special. We're walking on hallowed ground. One of the greatest men to have ever lived, without hyperbole, marched down the road we all took to get here tonight. That is, unless you entered from 413 North. There are countless towns in our great country that lack what we are oozing, and that is the lingering spirit of history, national history, revolutionary history, our revolution. If there were a physical symbol to represent that spirit in Buckingham, it would be the General Green Inn. There is not a place in our township that is more historically significant. We have been blessed to know this building intimately. I want to do my part to make sure that it's so. I want to do my part to make it so future generations can also enjoy the same blessing. Preservation may look too daunting to tackle, but we must remember what was going through the minds of our forefathers at this time. It was December 1776 when George Washington crossed the Delaware and won the Battle of Trenton. This was during the darkest times of our young nation's history. While the task ahead may seem daunting, preserving this most sacred building that has become derelict, we must remember that Washington was only able to win the war by persevering through bleak prospects. The task may be large, but tonight marks a new dawn, a new beginning. A faint ember of the revolution has fallen onto this tinderbox of public interest. I would like to state publicly that I am ready for the task that lies ahead of us and willing to provide my time and energy to preserve the most important building in our township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you help me if you see anybody else?
Yeah, one more time.
Hello there, good evening. My name is Christopher Valeri. I have been a resident of Buckingham Township since 2013. I live at 3073 Pelham Place. I am here tonight to discuss the preservation of the building and the property located at 4705 York Road, parcel number 06-010-240. Seems rather odd, doesn't it, that I express my concerns for building in such a straightforward fashion, considering its national historical significance, let alone its local historical significance. If you live in and around the Buckingham area, you must have likely passed this property many times and seen the worn down and neglected condition of the building, which has very little curb appeal, if any at all. However, this building is the General Green's Inn, also known as Bogart's Tavern, and it holds historical significance that transcends its physical structure. As a historical landmark, it provides a glimpse into the past and symbolizes the rich heritage of the region. I am standing here in front of this microphone to defend the preservation of General Green's Inn by delving into its historical context, key figures, impact, influential individuals, perspectives, potential future developments, and taking a balanced approach to consider all aspects of such venture. General Green's Inn, built in the late 18th century, stands as a testament to the era of the American Revolutionary War. Located in Buckingham, it served as a gathering place for local militias, soldiers, and prominent figures of that time. The inn's historical context is closely tied to the life and contributions of Major General Nathaniel Greene, who played a critical role in the war. Known as Washington's most gifted and dependable officer, General Nathaniel Greene proved instrumental in both military strategy and organizational efforts during the war. Green's Inn, serving as his headquarters during the Revolutionary period, became a hub for discussions, planning, and coordination of the infamous crossing of the Delaware River. This effort by George Washington and the Continental Army to stave off the advancement of the Hessian soldiers and secure that the city of Trenton stands as one of the most historical victories of the Revolutionary War. This association further elevates the significance of preserving the inn. The preservation of the General Green's Inn here in Buckingham has a profound impact in multiple domains. Firstly, it serves as a lasting testament to the valiant efforts of the patriots who fought for independence. The inn is a tangible remnant of their sacrifices and achievements, offering future generations an opportunity to connect with history. In addition, preserving General Green's Inn contributes to heritage tourism, attracting visitors who seek a deeper understanding of America's past. This generates economic benefits for the local community, bolstering the tourism industry and creating job opportunities. The preservation of the inn also fosters a sense of community pride and identity. Residents of Buckingham, as well as visitors, can feel a profound connection to the historical events that took place within the inn's walls. It serves as a symbol of unity, reminding us of the values that sparked the nation's struggle for freedom. While the preservation of General Green's Inn is undeniably important, diverse perspectives exist regarding its significance and potential future developments. Some argue that the limited resources should be directed towards more pressing contemporary issues rather than maintaining a historical site, especially in a rapidly developing area like Buckingham. However, it is crucial to consider the role historical preservation plays in shaping a community's identity and fostering an appreciation for the past. By preserving General Green's Inn, we safeguard a piece of our collective history and provide a tangible connection to the Revolutionary War. Furthermore, the preservation of the inn can be leveraged to support the educational initiatives enabling students to learn about the nation's founding and the sacrifices made during the war. The inn itself could be served as an interactive museum, engaging visitors in an immersive historical experience. To navigate potential future developments, collaborations between preservationists, local government, and community members are crucial. Balancing preservation efforts with substantial development can ensure that the inn adapts to the changing needs of the community without compromising its historical integrity. The preservation of General Green's Inn is vital for preserving the region's historical heritage, educating future generations, and fostering community pride. By embracing and valuing our legacy, we can build a more cohesive and resilient society. Going forward, I respectfully request that the reinstatement of the Buckingham Historical Society, as I was told it is now defunct, considering there aren't any active members. If approved, then I will then file the paperwork, if not already done so, to make the Historical Society a not-for-profit 501c3 organization. From there, I intend to use that platform to solicit funding and attempt to have the Historical Society purchase the building and its property. From there, I intend to have the building and its property registered with the Pennsylvania State Preservation Office, the SPRO, as a state historical site, then onto a national historical site as well. Yes, I realize this is a Herculean effort, even to start this endeavor, let alone raising significant funds in order to purchase the property. Having it registered as a state and then national historical site, solicit local, state, and federal historical sites for funding of the preservation of the building and property while following local ordinances since the property is located on protected wetlands. Nonetheless, I stand here tonight in front of this town in front of this Board of Town Supervisors as a proud resident of Buckingham and a patriotic American willing to give it my best as General George Washington and his men most certainly did on that fateful Christmas night back in 1776. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, for those thoughtful comments.
Looks like that's it.
That's it. Anybody else? Anybody else? Public
Maggie?
comment? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
No,
you-
no,
I
sorry.
thought you said
that's
hello.
it. Did you have any board comments?
No, I'm encouraged by the turnout for the energy transition plan presentation, and I think we're moving forward.
Yeah. Excellent. John, did you have any board comments?
No, thank you.
Okay. And, yeah, thank you, Maggie. It was a great presentation.
I thought so.
And,
Lots of good questions, good conversation.
yep, I think it's gonna be, it's an easy transition for Buckingham to go into.
Yeah, we're already heading in that direction.
Correct. So thank them and you. Okay, let me just find my spot. Order, okay. Make a motion, we approve payment request number 8 to GS Developers for work completed on the water company generator upgrades contract BT 22-01 in the amount of $36,000. Do I have a second?
Second,
And as always, this has to do with not tax dollars, but water and sewer customer dollars, okay? Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Make a motion, we approve payment request number 21 to GS Developers for work completed on the Cold Springs wastewater system upgrades. General contract BT-21-04 in the amount of $66,525. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. C, make a motion, we approve payment request number 13 to GS Developers for work completed on the wastewater system upgrades electrical contract BT-21-05 in the amount of $17,970. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
aye.
Aye. D, make a motion, we approve payroll for the weeks ending in December 31st, 2023 and January 14th of 24 for the meeting of January 24th, 2024 in the amount of $1,124,000, wait, let me say that again. $1,124,325.67. Do I have a second?
You have a second, and that's the bill list and the payroll.
Correct. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 4, make a motion, we approve draft supervisor minutes of January 2nd, 2024 reorganization and the regular business meeting. Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. Number 5, make a motion, we accept various departmental minutes and advisory board minutes from the EAC of July 19th of 23, September 20th of 23, October 18th of 23, November 15th of 23, and the Code Enforcement Monthly Statistical Report of December of 23. Do I have a second?
You have a second, and I just have a comment. The
Yep.
reason you'll see 4 months of minutes from the EAC is because that's when the EAC Commission reviewed them, voted yes on them, and they got submitted to Lori. So that's why we have 4 months of minutes in one meeting.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, make a motion, we approve the stormwater facility development contract, stormwater controls, and best management practices operation and maintenance agreement, and grant of easements between Buckingham Township and Daniel Henry and Lisa Henry regarding tax map parcel 06-021-027 located on Lower Mountain Road. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Discussion.
Yes, we have some discussion. We would like to include the requested waivers, which we've discussed, but to formally adopt them as part of that. And
And the requested waivers, obviously,
It's-
Dan.
Yeah, they were all technical related, and this is for a single-family home along Lower Mountain Road, just
East.
east of
Hollycomb.
Hollycomb. So, it's a fully wooded lot, so there's a lot of just things that the home builder has done to minimize the impact, so it's not necessarily just right out of the box. So, we can go through them if you want, but they're extremely technical, and we support them all.
Best of. Any other discussion?
No, I'm happy to do this.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 7,
Brutal.
excuse me? Yeah.
Come on up.
We have quite
You're
a
up.
team.
Good evening, everybody. Ed Wild for the applicant. Let me begin, if I might, by introducing who's with us tonight. Of course, you know Greg Blitzer from Gilmore Associates, Sharon Dotz to my immediate left from Gilmore. To my right behind me is Tony Giannotti. Tony is the Director of Real Estate for the Beans Organization. To Tony's left is Mr. Beans. And to Mr. Beans' left is the traffic engineer, Greg Richardson from Traffic Planning and Design. At the risk of belaboring the history, if you'll indulge me for a moment, I just think kind of highlighting how we got to where we are and what's in front of you tonight might be helpful. We're here, of course, on what used to be known as the Sylvan Pools property. We embarked on this journey to have the Beans organization examine it, evaluate it, and ultimately purchase it back in the end of 2021. In that period of time, we had a little bit of a unmotivated seller. We had some issues in terms of what we could and could not accomplish. And with a short due diligence period in our agreement, we appeared in front of you, well, I guess we appeared in front of the administrative and professional staff back in March of 2022. Before our due diligence ran out, we appeared in front of you on March 30th of 2022. We then had to make a decision, and Mr. Beans sort of crossed the Rubicon and had to purchase the property. Sylvan stayed in possession. We didn't actually get possession of the property until the fall of last year. In 2023, we appeared in front of you and in front of the Planning Commission in late January and then early February on a sketch plan. We took those plans, those comments, and the Gilmore folks filed preliminary plans that were reviewed by the Planning Commission at a formal meeting in September of 2023. We secured a recommendation of approval, and revised plans were filed, and so we now come in front of you for consideration of plan approval. I guess the journey has been a couple of years, and peeling apart the onion that was the Sylvan Pools property. It is, I think, without hyperbole to say, probably the most derelict property that remained in the township. And the project, you can see, Greg has an aerial of the site up in front of you. Just by way of background, of course, on the left side of that plan is Northeastern Road, and that's the frontage on Northeastern Road. On the right-hand or back side of that plan is Old Easton Road. The proposal is to cut the property into 2 lots. It's about 9 acres, so the front lot would contain what is proposed as a car dealership to be occupied by Hyundai, and the back lot, a little over 2 acres, is proposed to be sort of integrated into the biotech center that's across the way. We now have the current review of Mr. Gray, which I guess is open for discussion and comment. We have reviews from Carol Manicone on the landscape, and we have submitted some waiver requests. So with that, sort of by way of background about why we're here, I think the proposal is consistent with what you saw in the various sketch plans. It's consistent with what you saw in
Recognize what you just said.
about a year ago, and it's consistent with what the planning commission recommended approval for. So, kind of by way of background, that's why we're here, and we're happy to proceed however you'd like us to move forward.
And I would just add that, when we met with the planning commission, we sought a preliminary and final approval for the Hyundai, store on the front parcel lot one. Knowing that the life sciences market had kind of cooled by then, we only sought preliminary approval and approval of the lot line change plan for that. So it's our full intention to come back, and once this facility has a user, to then finish off the land development details and integrate the actual architecture for that lot.
I guess I might as well move to this. There was some comment when we appeared in front of you before, we had a sort of a conceptual rendering of the Hyundai dealership, which was more of a pro forma rendering. We now have a architectural rendering of what the building is proposed to look like from the northeastern road frontage. And there is a, there it is. There is a architectural elevation plan that would show the renderings from the streets. So nothing has changed in terms of what we've proposed, to the extent there was some concern about the property being in the overlay district. From its inception, we had some limited ability to design the building because of the constraints. The idea being that being able to take the sort of derelict nature of the property, and when I say that, I'd say that without hyperbole. The property was in complete disarray. I mentioned sort of peeling back the onion, the restoration of the property, the demolition, some of the environmental cleanup. It's just the property that keeps on giving. But when we're done, and we are hoping that we will be done sort of in due course, if you've looked at any of the Beans properties along the northeastern road corridor, Mr. Beans takes extraordinary care of his property, and I think looks forward to having this property also be sort of a credit to the redevelopment of it. It started as 2 lots, it ends up as 2 lots. We haven't proposed to divide it in any other fashion other than to have a use on the northeastern road frontage and a use on the old eastern road side. So by way of background, I think that, anything I missed there, you want to add, Greg? No. So we're happy to proceed however you'd like. If you'd like us to go through the reviews, I'm pleased to say I think there is very little in the way of things that are not Wilcom Plaza.
Why don't you start with the
Yeah.
will comply?
And I think there are a few discussion items that
yeah.
we could just, maybe I could hijack this, because you
Okay.
kind of stepped into the first one, which is the architectural renderings. When you guys enacted the overlay district in Cross Keys, there was a general requirement that it be developed in a certain manner. Obviously, since the inception of this project, they have come in and were very forthright with the architecture of what it was going to look like. Obviously, it looks like a car dealership because that's what it is, and similar to what we went through with Mercedes and the rigidity of the car dealerships and what their products look like. We've always seen this. So before we moved it forward, I just wanted to make sure you guys were all comfortable with what the renderings look like. Again, I think it's consistent with the Mercedes dealership. It's a little less consistent with the Wawa that was developed under this ordinance that does have sort of that pitched roof and the natural materials, but they're all industrial or commercial type uses up there. It is a significant improvement aesthetically over what is there now, and for some time, especially when the biotech center part of this in the back comes through. I think we'll be able to get more of an architectural look that you're looking for that that building than you would really have the ability to do with an auto dealership. So
I think your point is that's part of that's why there's zoning there for this.
Mm-hmm. Right, and again, the whole idea of the overlay district was to encourage, development in an area where, some of the properties at the time were very much like the Sylvan site. So, you know, we're starting to see fruition of some of that planning that we did when we put the overlay district in. So, again, I think we're all very happy, staff-wise, I think, with what the product we're getting, because it is a cleanup of a site that has not looked very nice for some time, so. And then I'll lead into another one that was in my review, and Ed touched on a little bit. There is some contamination on the site. They're going through the Act 2 process. They've submitted all the information that's, you know, typically required and provided. And they're looking, if you believe you're still doing this, planning on doing that remediation in advance of working out all the details through land development. So just kind of give you the heads up that there's likely going to be some activity on the site prior to maybe the final sign off on this. So we don't see a problem with, you know, that, you know, schedule. We kind of went through that with the Wawa when they had the same kind of
Correct.
contamination. It's the same PCPs or PCBs, so they're going to excavate out the soil, cover it for a couple of weeks, and then do some additional testing, and then haul it off once they are sure they got it all. So all I think the township is asking for is to kind of be involved in the process, keep us in the loop on the notifications, give us the final reports, and that's sort of in my letter. I'm not sure if that was of anything that you guys objected to. Again, the township just wants to make sure they're doing it right and following what the laws require.
Yeah, we filed a sort of two-stage NPDS permit. In order to do the cleanup, need to do the demo. In order to do the demo, we've got to take out foundations, that's earth disturbance. Knowing that we still had a process for the land development, we were able to, with DEP's support and Conservation District support, file an initial NPDS permit application. We'll amend that with like the full stormwater management application when we get through the township's process.
Okay, so the expectation is it'll be an amendment of the existing.
Yes.
Okay, all right, because I think the way I read what your submission implied was that it was going to be two separate permits.
No, it's actually one.
Okay, so it'll just stay, okay, and then we won't have to close that one out then.
Right.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but just to fill in a couple blanks, the contamination is largely on the building along Old Easton Road that was used, what they called the coping shop.
Right.
And there were some hot spots there that are gonna generate the soil that has to be removed. And we just keep finding, as we have taken up carpeting and other tile and things, that we've got some asbestos in the building that's also gonna have to be disposed of. So, it's just, again, it's just a great onion that keeps getting peeled. But Tony is the head of real estate for the Phoenix organization, and is sort of shepherding and overseeing that. So we'll do all that in accordance with all the requirements, and I think that that probably covers all the environmental comments.
The other thing that I think, I guess I have two more that we want to talk about. The lighting, we made some recommendations to further dim some of the lighting up in the front, obviously after hours, and just want to make sure you guys were okay with that. You're dimming the majority of the lights, but your front row lighting doesn't get increased dimming, so we're just asking you to bump that up so it's consistent with what else is on the site, rather we don't dim everything 30%, we dim everything 30 and then bump the front display areas down as well. So
Right, I think what we did when we first got involved in this is, among other things, we looked at the Mercedes dealership that you referred to and the lighting that they had over there. We compared that to the ordinance and our lighting plan, and I think your comments are all things that we can address and comply with.
okay. And then the other is just issues with traffic study. The township's traffic study is a little different than PennDOT standards for traffic study, especially when it comes to signalized intersections. Buckingham looks at each approach individually, where PennDOT typically looks at them as the whole intersection. So, for example, Research Way and Northeastern Road. Obviously, Northeastern's the bigger, higher volume highway, so they get a little bit better priority. So they have a longer, volume time to get traffic through. And when you look at those areas, the Research Way approach may appear to be a level of service D, where, Northeastern Road is level of service A. We think we're working through some changes on that signal just to address some immediate issues through the Wawa project. We're asking Fred Beans' organization to look at it again when they come back in 2027, 2028, whenever they come back in with their next project, to see if we can make further adjustments to that signal, just to kind of keep it functioning. So it's a deficiency noted in your ordinance, or deficiency noted in their study that, I wanted to at least let you know. It's not a failure, it's just a congestion area, and the ordinance requires you guys to at least accept what their proposals are. And I just wanted to cover that. We have similar issue at Northeastern and Swamp, where we've had historic problems with traffic volumes. We're kind of limited on capacity through Swamp Road, because we only have the one lane with a couple turn lanes at that intersection. So no matter what timing adjustments we do over time, we're just going to continually have to deal with that. And it's obviously a part of Doylestown Green Light Grow application, as well as the corridor that they're interconnecting all the signals up and down Swamp Pike or Swamp Road. So that, I think, is another one where you have some approaches that are less than the level of service C. And just want to let you know that I don't think we need to make any changes as part of this application. It's kind of outside the scope, and you really, until you put 4 lanes in each direction, we're probably never going to see that acting perfectly. And then the last one that is showing some deficiency is the Northeastern and Cross Keys Plaza intersection, which is where the Giant, I'm sorry, not Plaza, Place, the one that goes to Giant and the new Marshalls and all that. So
Plumstead.
in Plumstead.
Yeah.
So that is also deficient on the approach, kind of like Research Way. The priority is to Northeastern. The exit in and out of, or the exit out of that development is showing level service D. I'm sure that Plumstead looked at that when they did the Home Goods, Marshalls, Giant, all of that stuff. So we're suggesting that we not worry about that. If Plumstead has an issue, obviously they've been involved in this. They can certainly raise that issue with PennDOT. Again, another PennDOT intersection. So PennDOT would ultimately have oversight on whatever timings were made. But those were the 3 deficiencies in their study that I just wanted to mention to you, that we're not doing anything as far as this other than asking Fred to look at the Research Way when that biotech property comes in, and whenever it does. It could be 5 years, it could be 8 years, who knows? So, and that is all I have issue-wise. If you want to go through the waivers, we can do that.
There are 19 waivers. 2 of them were identified as things you didn't support. Most of them were technical. I think, and I'm going to ask Sharon or Greg to correct me if I'm wrong. The 2 that were not supported had to do with landscaping around the trash components, and 1 possible waiver about whether the electric lines had to be raised. The request for the waiver around the trash enclosures has been withdrawn, and the one on the electric lines, we're waiting for a response, but the electric on site is going to be underground, and we're hopeful that the existing poles that are out that would service the property do not have to be raised. And so with those 2 minor exceptions, I think I can say that the rest of the waiver comments either will comply or you support the comments. And I don't, unless there's a need to pick on those,
Yes.
they're all technical.
But I want to hear about
All right.
That enclosure, we relocated to this portion here, gives us a much better ability to screen that, and there's no reason to have a waiver. So
Okay.
I was thinking you could kind of incorporate it in the architecture of the building, so
Yeah,
it just
that
wasn't
was-
sitting
I thought
out.
that was originally a compactor there, actually, and it wasn't intended for that, so that's
Okay.
probably.
It just, it's kind of visible from
Yeah.
all points. And then with the utility lines,
Yeah.
and this is, probably has a long history going back to, let's say, the Winter Square development. We have historically asked developers to either put all of their utilities on the ground, including the ones along the front, or at least acknowledge that they're not going to upgrade the service. Because what we had happen was we had old utility poles, new development came in, we're not doing anything with utility poles. 2 weeks later, PECO came out and increased the service and kind of changed what the front of the development looked like. So it seems to be a waiver we get asked all the time. My only request is, and where I would change to support it, is if they agree to provide us with the electrical drawings once PECO finishes them, so that we can confirm that there isn't any upgrade. Kind of the waiver kind of goes away if there are no upgrades. If there are, I think it would be something that maybe we wouldn't want to have a discussion about. So if you guys can agree to come back to us if there is, when the PECO plans are finalized, to make sure that we're not going to get something that we didn't bargain for.
Yeah, our ability to influence them, but that's certainly
I-
something
we-
we can do with our ability to influence them into putting underground route.
I'm not suggesting but we like to put up a good fight.
Yeah.
We don't want something we don't want, so.
No big braced poles. across the-
I can't imagine we'll have that with the limited frontage you have here, so.
We're just
So would
asking
we
to
hold
be
off
included when.
Well, I think what I would say is we would support it if they agree to provide us with the electrical drawings from PECO, confirming that there are no significant upgrades. And then-
Tony, you've been in touch with PECO already because the power in that area isn't enough to support EV charging. Wawa has the conduit for it, but isn't wired up for it. So, Tony's been tracking that because that's absolutely a requirement for the new brand of certainly Hyundai and most others that are offering that. So we probably have a little closer contact than maybe a residential developer might. So we'll certainly do our best to keep that.
And again, I think really what we're asking for is to be able to have a conversation if there are significant changes to what's out there. And you realize there's utility poles all over the place.
Well, my question is, how do you, no offense, but how do you protect the township if there's changes and we don't find out about it?
Well, that's part of the problem, because once it gets through PECO and the developer signs off on it and pays for the installations, we really have limited ability to fight. So my point is, we shouldn't waive it if there isn't some certainty that it's not going to.
So,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
No, I agree with you.
Okay,
So-
so it should be, so this, I'm not confused, I just want to confirm. So the waiver is based on PECO not changing the architecture, correct?
That is what I am asking, and again, acknowledging also that this happens pretty much with every development, that we don't get the PECO plans until final plan approval is granted. Typically, PECO won't go and do all of their engineering until they're sure that the applicant's moving forward with this project. So, it's always the cart before the horse. We get them literally as we're walking into the pre-construction meeting, and everyone goes, everything's fine, and we continue on. So it's typically not a problem. Again, as Greg mentioned, and I think we had this discussion at the Planning Commission, there was a little bit of a worry about upgrading because of the charging station. So
I understand that, but I'm still confused.
What if you did support, if you agree to supply any electrical plans from PECO to the township engineer, for the township engineer to review prior to any proposed PECO changes?
that's fine.
I think that would work with us, yes.
Okay,
But you anticipate there's gonna be an upgrade because of the amount of
So there'll be
vehicles
some
charging.
changes, so
yeah.
it just,
And we
we have
also
to.
anticipate with almost absolute certainty that it will not be underground. So
Right.
the ordinance requires service lines to be underground. I think it was probably drafted in the context of a residential subdivision where they do
Yeah.
service lines it's all underground. But along main feeds like this, they won't dive in underground for one property.
And we've gone through that before. We realize that we're fighting an uphill battle, but again, we would like to at least have a seat at the table to have the discussions if it's something that is going to be significant, and those could have impact on what it looks like down there. So just kind of want to have that discussion before you see something that you guys don't like and yell at me.
Now, will the feed lines for the technology center property be coming in off of
Point.
611 or off of Old Easton?
No, probably off of Old East.
Old Easton,
Where
okay.
the existing center goes.
Okay.
And the only other one that at least I wanted to bring to your attention, because we've had discussion on other projects, our ordinance requires parking to be to the side and rear of the building. Because of the way this site is laid out, you kind of have angled property lines, so they can't really push the building all the way forward and still
Right.
drive around and put the parking to the side. So they have a handful of display parking spaces along the front. They're like the other car dealerships in the area, so it's not as if this is going to be something different. They are providing the appropriate level of screening, presumably to Carol's satisfaction. We're addressing the lighting, so all of the things that you usually see when you have sales areas of car dealerships right out onto the road, you know, we're still meeting our setback requirements. It's just something that we've talked about. I know we had a long discussion with the church several years ago about that, and I didn't want it to just flush through without us at least mentioning it to you, so you guys can
Okay.
ask questions if you want it.
Yeah, it's an unconventional lot.
It is,
Yeah.
very much so.
Maggie, did you have anything?
No, I don't. The illustrations, speak for themselves.
Any other discussion from anybody?
Can you fix up the Foster Cardane property?
They tried.
I think you were
I used to go there.
We came
I-
in here on a
I
sketch
think
plan.
we've been there, haven't
we? And for reasons I won't elaborate in public, we terminated that agreement.
Yeah, I used to bring my Jeep there
Yeah,
back in
back
in
in
the
the day.
nineties.
Back in the day.
I had a Jeep. I mean, I think it's great that this is the second property now where it's being cleaned up environmentally, I might add.
Maybe you guys can rub some of your shine onto them.
Yeah,
I do appreciate the green on the plan, on the parking, the different parking islands and whatnot. It's upkeep and it's
Yeah,
gonna
we
make
think,
it look nice.
we think the islands will actually contribute just to breaking up the parking lots, and that's
Yeah.
been Carol's concern. We have a pretty significant buffer between the lots, so we're attempting a green retaining wall there as well, and, yeah, we're pretty excited about it. I'm really excited about the life sciences lab, if we can get that going too.
exactly.
Relative to the public spaces, that really gives us some opportunity with, with the nexus to the, I mean, even to the biotech center and pedestrian crossing and everything, we just think that's the spot for public space night out.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the benches that are out in front of Wawa, I've never seen anyone in.
Quick, just curiosity, do you anticipate having an emergency entrance between the two properties for emergency services? No.
You know, one of the challenges is the grade and trying to site the
Oh.
buildings.
Is one gonna be, there'll be a retaining wall there?
Yeah, so there's a retaining wall, John, really along the common property line, it's pretty good stuff. You don't realize how much relief is actually on the property, but there's a lot of walls throughout the property right now, lots of little holes and docks and that kind of thing. And there's a good deal of grade change there. And when you have a building here that's very much tied to the elevation of 611 or North Easton Road, and the same thing, with the building pulled forward without parking in the front, you're kind of pinned to the elevation of Old Easton, so we make it up. But the result, we think, is two good-looking pad sites.
Okay.
And just two additional things, just to, just add to some of the benefits of the plan, and Greg touched on it. There is a pedestrian trail that will go from Old Easton to New Easton along the side between the Bean site and the Cardane site. So when all of that work is done, we'll be able to get people from the airport, from the biotech center, and those properties up around there that have access to the biotech sidewalk through and then out to the businesses on Easton Road. So we're really kind of starting to see some of the pedestrian facilities that we've been really trying to get out there kind of come to fruition. And then the other part, and just put this on the record, is part of all of this last submittal, there, as Greg had mentioned, there's going to be, the dealership will be constructed initially, and then, we'll wait until the market's right to get the biotech center. That area up there will be restored back to grass. It's not going to be a parking lot. It's not going to be presumably not overflow parking. So that was something that Planning Commission, as well as the staff, was concerned that we wouldn't have another car lot up there. So it'll be reverted back to grass until such time as the research center comes through. So
I'm really excited that you're sort of partnering with the biotech center.
That's
They
awesome.
Are able to, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is such an asset to Buckingham Township. We're lucky to have them.
I would only mention Mr. Shandor, who works with Mr. Baines on some developments and who is the principal in the Cross Keys Shopping Center now. Has been very hands-on. He came to the Planning Commission meeting. I think he was here at one of your meetings. He's out of the state right now, but me and Mr. Baines have a nice relationship, and I've been coordinating with the biotech center where possible.
Well, to your point, Dan, it's good to see a lot of the things we discussed about with the Wawa and that road
Yep.
coming to fruition.
I think a lot of the stuff, and obviously we worked with the county for the whole Cross Keys transportation study.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that kind of plagued that area in years past, we've been, picking at them as we can, and that's, sort of the way we have to operate, is when developers come in on individual properties, we can do what we can do on their frontage. We really can't do much elsewhere. So as we're filling in the gaps, we're starting to see, again, this is one of those properties that we've all been really looking forward to correcting some of the aesthetic issues that have been out there. And I think Chris had mentioned that, looking out of the biotech conference room, you look over the sea of sylvan pool debris that no one really wants to see. So I think everyone's excited for this, and and again, I think it's kudos to Fred and his group to actually take care of this property that we've all have so long wanted to get fixed. So
I can attest to that. I have dozens of pictures that Fred sent me from his phone from that conference room, looking out over sylvan pools, often with a lot of concern about how can that be, and how can sylvan not be taking care of that. They were literally dumping on the property.
Yeah.
Dumping. And coming up with dump trucks and just dumping all the pool debris. So it's already been substantially cleaned up. Tony oversaw the cleanup once we got possession back, and that was not a minor task in itself. Just to put it in the condition that it's in right now, from where it was to where it is now, has been a couple of giant steps forward.
Does any residents have any questions or whatnot? Is there anybody?
I just have one comment. I'm David Jarrett, 3221 Grape Day. I've been a resident of the township for 53 years, and that's as long as I can remember, a terrible eyesore of the property. So I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing there. I've noticed it already. It's 100%, in my favor. So I appreciate that. And I, being a long-term resident, know the quality that Mr. Beans keeps of his facility. So I'm sure that this will be like that too. So thank you.
Great comment. Thank you.
You have anything, Lou?
Dan covered most of what I wanted to bring up tonight, but I did have two comments. Greg, at the Planning Commission meeting, the calculations for the public amenity space were combined for both sites. Has there been additional public amenity space provided on Lot 1 to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance?
What we did, Luke, and we thought this was, as I said, with the nexus to the biotech center, this was the appropriate spot for the balance of it. So we're counting on that, but in order to have more of a load on Lot 1, we talked about this wayfinding kiosk, and there's all I can say, like a little rest area where the sidewalk will turn. We put some benches there. Carol brings up a point about putting some more benches along the front. We can certainly do that. We just wanted to see if there was still flexibility in sort of applying the public standards to a development basis, so that this would carry more of a load. So we did not detail any more additional frontage improvements. We have some area that we could use. We thought about, sort of lunchtime area, a little green spot in there, just a little refuge, but it's not real accessible to the public. So we thought, yeah, we could dot that and call that public, but realistically, is that really public? Not so much.
Too
It's
far
not-
off the road.
Yeah, it's too far off the road. So we'll rely on the front. We can count as much, kind of what Wawa did. Now, like I said, there's quite a few benches that are fronting right on North Main Street, and I think it probably gets to be a point of overkill. Our thought was that we would tuck those into this little corner where we have a little detail with the kiosk and some benches that are sort of in a square.
Where there'll be a walking trail.
Yeah, and that's where the walking trail goes. We do have an area here, sort of another little rest area, with some benches and that connects down to.
I don't want to speak out of turn here, Greg, but we're going to anticipate building all the public amenity space as part of the current development of the Hyundai dealership. And while we're going to hold the development of the biotech building as a reserve, all the public amenity space will be front loaded, right?
Well, not on the biotech lot, because that is very much tied to the finished grades,
Just
and
grass.
stormwater features, and the front plaza. So we do that plaza last,
Okay.
even when we're talking about the sequencing. But to the extent that we can count some more areas, we can make that work. We just wanted to see if there was really going to be a strong desire to have something more significant than what we're showing, and what we would supplement with additional benches facing North Main Street.
Sure, thanks, Greg. And that kind of leads into my other thought that we talked about at the Planning Commission, but I wanted to bring it up here as well. We do studies at the county on parking, and we do recognize that many municipalities are overparked, and there is an excess of parking proposed here. I totally understand the nature of the use and what's being proposed, but just given that there were some back and forth of where to put some of this public amenity space, a few parking spaces were removed for that public amenity space. That was just something we discussed, but I'd be remiss if I missed the opportunity to say county's overparked. So
Okay,
that's it. Thank you.
thank you.
And on York Road and Swamp Road, there's an abandoned gas station if you're interested in the convenience store, but I'm just saying.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you. So John, do you want to do it for me?
No, Dave has it.
I
Okay.
think there is one more comment that even Dan mentioned, whether the township is interested in doing so, is whether we want to put some bollard lights along that sidewalk connection between Northeastern Road and Old Easton Road.
On that connection.
Yeah, because I think, obviously, as along the section with the car dealership, I don't think we're gonna have a problem with lighting. I think that just inherent with that type of a facility, you're gonna have lighting. It's really that section between the retaining wall and Old Easton Road. I think we talked about a handful of bollards, if that would make sense. Because I think you had some bollards.
We're talking like light posts
Yeah.
with bollard height.
You have
I
bollards
think
in front of
that's
the biotech, do you not?
It's just to add some
I think we
safety.
have some around the patio area.
Yeah, maybe one or two, just to give some illumination over there,
Yeah,
just so it's not pitch dark.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially
There we
time of the year when it's like dark
Yeah,
at 5
yeah.
o'clock.
You know,
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Do you have to add that? Or is it okay?
Carol?
No, Dave's
Okay.
gonna
Just
Dave-
add sort
Dave's
of
gonna chime in.
along
It's
with
on their
your
way.
I will.
It's on
comments
their way.
about the extension now of what's happening on both road frontages with these new projects. We're also tying the landscaping in, so that Old Eastern Road has a streetscape of its own. And we're going to be repeating some of the same tree species and shrubbery and so on, to extend where the new biotech addition is going to go on this side of the street. And a very similar kind of situation out along 611, we're using similar street trees there like we've used further up the road at Mercedes, at Wawa. So we're extending the whole sort of visual concept on both roadways. And then, of course, interior buffers and so on we're still working those out. There's some changes and just some minor changes in the plant list and so on that I had in my list before. Some of them didn't get on the revised plan, so it's that kind of stuff that I think has to be cleaned up. But I think otherwise, we're pretty good with the landscaping, unless you guys have any questions.
No, we agree with you, Carol, on your December
Do you
4th
want the
letter.
date?
We'll comply.
You had the date.
December
Thank you,
4th.
Bill.
And then
Okay,
Need waivers.
with all that being said,
waivers with the two exceptions.
yep, I will,
Dan's letter, Carol's letter.
perfect.
And then
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to accept preliminary approval of the Hyundai dealership and biotech research lab land development plan dated revised June 23rd of '23, Township File LD 2023-2, tax map parcels 06-004-002 and 006-004-003, two lots, 8.92 acres, located in the PC1 zoning district with an extended review period, expiration date of February 2nd, 2024, with the following will complies. Dan and Dana.
Oh,
Thank you. Okay, sorry, we're giving you the right.
That's it.
so night engineering?
Okay.
January 22nd.
January 22nd, 2024, night engineering review letter. Carol's just
Landscape
updating
review.
landscape review consultants, December 4th, 2023 letter, or last revised, December. Bucks County Planning Commission review letter dated July 31st, 2023.
Yes, no, no
Okay,
update.
no.
February 1st.
And we just have Doylestown.
You must throw it in there. You all right
Okay.
with DTMA's?
You're okay with DTMA's
Yeah, they
review
gave us
letters,
actually a
right?
clean letter in
Yeah.
December.
Yeah.
With a couple.
With a couple
construction
technical,
related
yeah,
things
yeah.
to do. Yes.
The electrical pole.
Okay. And the SC engineering review letter, last updated December,
We don't have, they don't send it to us.
they didn't send us the last revised.
Did you comply with all of their?
Did you comply with all of their July 11th, 2023?
Okay.
Okay,
We'll
so
use that
the
Well, there's also
SC
an August
engineering
one.
review letter dated July 11th, 2023.
Like that.
And approving the waiver request as revised October 25th, 2023, with two exceptions. Waiver 9.20.D.1-3, or I dash, which has been withdrawn. And waiver 9.3.A, that will be supported with the agreement that they will, applicant will supply electrical plans from PICO to the township engineer for review prior to any proposed PICO changes.
And I have one additional suggestion. You had said a preliminary plan approval.
Yeah.
One of the waivers was preliminary final for phase 1 and a preliminary approval for phase 2.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
very first waiver.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lori's that good that she got that all, right, Lori?
Yes,
She's excellent. Okay, and do I have a second?
you got it.
Okay, now let's discuss all over again. Anybody
No.
have discussion? Any discussion? Okay, great. Okay, all in favor?
What?
Quick question, I'm Fran Shimon, Field Road. Just quick question about the biotech research lab. What kind of research is this?
All kinds.
I don't know if you want to handle that, Greg. I think,
Did they? Discovered it.
Yes.
Well, the
Have
lab
time to
here
say?
is life sciences research, so this is where the hepatitis B vaccine was
Yeah.
developed, and the strain that causes that, so that's where that was cured, so.
But it's over 100 small
Startups,
startups,
small startup labs.
all in there.
Aliquot labs, and they often will outgrow their space in the biotech center and look for other places. And we'd like to keep them in the township because some of them become very important outfits there. And so there's, like I said, I keep using the word nexus, but there's connection to just the brain power here and to common facilities in the existing center, and some of that common space might be developed in here as well. So that's stuff we program. So life sciences based.
Yeah, and we actually lost a big lab that wanted to go. I think they had to go to Warminster just because of just lack of physical space.
Yeah, or
Yeah, they
Arbutus,
just need,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Mr. Jarrett
I
also
just
has,
wanted to ask, is that property being subdivided? Or who's gonna, are they two separate parcels that two entities will own separately, or?
well, not now, it's not, right?
Well, there
There's
are
two
two parcels
parcels
now,
now.
There are two
and
parcels.
we'll end up with two parcels. So
At
in a
the end,
technical
right.
sense, it is definitely a subdivision, but it also is sort of a lot line change because we're starting with two parcels and we're ending with two parcels, but they're gonna be configured differently. And to the rest of your question, Old Easton Realty LLC is the owner. That's a entity that Mr. Baines has established. He'll operate the Hyundai dealership on the front, and the ultimate disposition of Lot 2 will be, stay tuned.
Okay.
Okay?
Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Perfect, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We're cleaning that area up little by little,
Yes, we are.
scoop by scoop.
$500,000 at a time.
Yeah. Scoop by scoop.
Scoop by scoop. At least you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, right.
Well, I always say.
Okay, number 8, escrow releases. Make a bye, thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.
thank you.
Have a good day. Good night.
Thank you.
Escrow release.
Okay.
Make a motion, we approve Raymond J. and Tamara F. Flynn, Stormwater Facility Development Contract, Tax Map Parcel number 6-10-184. Request for release number 3, final release in the amount, of $236,675.26. Do I have a second?
You have a second?
Discussion, Dan?
This is the Flynn tract, which is along Old Easton Road, kind of across the street from the township's water and wastewater complex. Single lot. It used to be, Watson Creek, but there was another name for it. But it was 25 lots. We made it one.
Because it had
It
a creek
ended up
going
one.
through it.
It has a creek, right. So we had Watson Creek, which was 2 different developments on either side of the stream, and Mr. Flynn
Just got
and
smaller
his
and smaller.
family decided to come in.
And they live in Devonshire. They lived in
Mhm.
Devonshire, and he has a really successful POP business.
Yeah.
So.
So, this is the final release. It's a stormwater project. There is no maintenance bond, so this will be the end of it, once we are done with tonight.
It's vetted, as always did.
Yes,
yeah.
we vetted it very
It's
much.
It's
It's a beautiful property, beautiful, yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
All in favor?
do I have a
Second.
second? Okay.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, additional business manager items. Make a motion to approve a purchase order to Fred Beans, Ford Lincoln, in the amount of $39,986 for a 2023 Police Interceptor and purchase order to Tyrone's Emergency Vehicle Uplifting, Inc. in the amount of $5,434.44 to upfit the 2023 Ford Police Interceptor. Should have asked Fred for a discount. Do I have a second?
Second. I was gonna say it should be a left.
Yeah, any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, make a motion, we approve request submitted by Nancy Cullen on behalf of Bold Hope to waive a $100 Park Pavilion usage fee set by resolution number 2618 for the use of Holocron Park Pavilion for a 5K 1 mile fun run to be held on June 8th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Gladly.
Yeah, and we do, this is, anything nonprofit, we typically waive for nonprofit. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And before I make my final motion, for two things. Dana, did you have anything else?
I have nothing else for the business meeting. I do have a little bit of executive
We
session.
do.
We need to talk about personnel and,
Field
some,
spray fields.
some, yeah, the real estate.
Real estate.
Yes. Real estate for spray fields. Okay, so that we'll be doing next. I'll make a motion, we close the January 24th, 2024 Buckingham regular business meeting.
I second it.
30 seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.
Thank
So
you.
this is just Google